welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things my kids may say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes, that you find some inspiration along the way. This is episode 89, and we are in the middle of July, year 2022. We are actually, I believe, halfway through summer break already. I'm not quite sure how that happened. Time seems to be flying by really fast. I mean, we're over halfway through the year 2022 already, and just given all of the events going on in the last 3 years, time just happens to be flying in very strange ways. But a big warm welcome to you if you are new or a returning viewer. I am excited that you are joining me in this creative space today. I apologize in advance if there is extra noise in the background. As I mentioned, we are on summer break, so the kids are at home, and currently I think the dishwasher and the washing machine are running. And no complaints, because I am very grateful for dishwashers and washing machines. But yeah, it is the middle of July and it is very hot. We aren't experiencing quite the same type of heat waves I think some areas of the United States and parts of Europe are experiencing, but it is definitely hot. We had a heat index of I think 100 or near 100 degrees earlier this week, and today with the decreased humidity actually didn't feel too bad at like low to mid 80s. Especially if you're in the shade. I believe the temperatures are measured, like in the forecast, are predicted for in the shade like 6 feet off the ground, 6 or 10 feet off the ground, might be 6 feet off the ground. Yeah, it's been pretty warm. But yeah, with the decreased humidity, it's not too bad. So we tried to limit our times outdoors when it is that hot, just to avoid, heat exhaustion. But we do still need to water the garden, and I mean, we do still need to go out. So yeah, just trying to stay hydrated and staying cool when we can. I hope you are doing the same if you are in the northern hemisphere and experiencing heat waves. Speaking of the garden, I'm not in the spot that I have previously been recording at, so it is harder to show you my bouquets of flowers, but I did bring this one over to share with you. The zinnias are finally blooming. They got a little bit of a slow start because the first round that we planted from seed early May, May 8th, were all eaten by the bunnies. So I needed to replant them, and once we replanted them, we surrounded them with chicken wire so that the bunnies could not eat this second round. So they are coming up a little later than last year. I was looking at some pictures from last summer, and we definitely had big bouquets by now, and this is the first bouquet of zinnias I've been able to cut. And in the center here, I don't know if I can tilt this without dumping water out. It's pretty full. Let's see here. Is that showing up? Maybe I'll pull it out so you can see it. This is a frosted salmon poppy. I lost the word there. Poppy. It's really neat because it looks kind of like a mini peony with all of the very delicate, delicate petals in there. It is so pretty. The stem of it is very wobbly. I'm going to pull it out so you can see it. It's not straight, so it's growing in kind of this curvy shape. And I'm not entirely sure if it's supposed to do that. See, I mean, it's still pretty firm. It's not super wobbly, but it's definitely makes it a little tricky for flower arrangements in a vase because it's not straight. But I don't know, well, I'm trying to think. We didn't stake them or provide any supports, and I'm wondering if when it gets too hot, it droops and then it kind of comes back to life when it cools down or when I water it, and so it's growing in a weird, wobbly stem. I don't really know. Anyway, the packaging says that this kind of poppy thrives in like 60 to 65 degrees. And it has definitely been higher than 60 and 65 degrees lately. It might have also said it was frost hardy, which is the whole reason why I planted them in the first place, because we're in zone 4, which is a pretty cold growing zone, and I want them to be frost hardy or at least be able to tolerate cooler temperatures. But with these high temps, I think some of our cold weather loving flowers are not enjoying this heat. But yeah, so that's what we have on the table, which is so nice. There was a white one too. We had planted specifically a, is it wedding white or white wedding zinnia? And it's so cute. But since there's only one bloom, I did not cut that one yet. I'm just waiting for maybe a couple more to come up before I cut it, because our youngest daughter planted those specifically because she really wanted to, and I couldn't cut her one flower. So we'll wait until maybe a couple come up. At least that's what she wanted us to do. Wait and see, and then we can cut some. As far as other flowers go, we have tons of different lilies in bloom. I believe we planted 6 or 8 different varieties, and I will have inserted some footage in the beginning of this video sharing some of those lilies that we have in bloom, and if I remember, maybe I'll insert some still images here on the screen as well. But they're so fun. There's like peachy ones, spotted ones, ones with frilly edges, one that have like very straight edges, red, orange, yellow, so they're all really beautiful, at least the ones that came up that didn't get eaten by the deer. One year we had all of these lilies come up. I think they were daylilies, and they come up, they're like 5 feet tall, and of course they're just eaten like straight across by the deer because they're right at their head level, and they go chomp 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 chomp. But we moved those lilies to a different part of the garden where we were like, okay, fine, they can just eat those. So the hydrangeas are blooming, and I did find the one that I thought was going to be blue or pink. It was this like more cone-shaped hydrangea bloom instead of a ball shape, and it's coming out white. But I'm pretty sure when we planted it, it was blue. It was going to be blue or pink, you know, because it depends on the acidity of the soil. So still pretty, but not what I was expecting. So yeah, I think that's it for all of the things that are in bloom. I mean, we have yarrow in bloom and salvia in bloom and some of the other things. But like hollyhock and our foxglove did not come back. And I believe part of the reason is one of them, it was either not a self-seeding variety, or there was something like a biennial variety or something. Anyway, they didn't come back, so we'll have to try that experiment again sometime. Yeah, that's it for the garden chat. Oh, our squash! I forgot the vegetables. Squash are coming. I think we've picked maybe 10 so far, the little yellow summer squash, and we just grill it, salt and pepper, that's it. Use it in a salad, use it as a side, so good. And tomatoes are slowly coming out. I've gotten really mad at the squirrels. I was talking to another friend, and we were saying how squirrels go after your tomatoes kind of like toddlers go after whole apples. So they'll like eat a bite and leave it, right? And it's so rude. Just eat the whole thing. So like the squirrel took this giant bite out of a green tomato and left it there. Like it was still attached to the vine. Just take the whole thing if you're going to take a bite, right? And it did make me laugh because it is just like toddlers eating a whole apple. Like, what's so different about eating it sliced up? I swear they eat more when they're sliced anyway than eating it from a whole apple where they leave like bites all over it. Yeah, that's it for garden talk. I will have links to things that I talk about in the description box below this video, and there are captions provided, just like always. And I do use Ravelry, but those links will be marked separately as those project pages, just for those who do not find that site accessible to them. I don't want you to accidentally click on things. And yeah, I have maybe 4 projects I think to share with you today. 1 finished project, 3 works in progress, and yeah, I think that's it. Nothing terribly exciting in my glass today. It's water, ice water, but it's actually, there was decaf black tea, peach decaf black tea, sweetened with some local raw honey in there, and then I finished it, like most of it, and then I just added water to it. So it just tastes like diluted iced tea, but it's good, it's cold, it's refreshing. Let's start with finished projects. So the first one, or the only one I want to share with you today, is the one that I'm wearing. I do have another finished project, but we're going to share that at the next episode because it is a test, and I generally don't like to share the finished projects before the pattern is released. So yeah, so this one is the Quill Tee. It is a pattern by Tiff Nealon. Let me see if I can move my chair back. There we go. And today I have it with a skirt here that I sewed out of a linen cotton, and this sweater tee is so comfy. It is knit out of my favorite Purl Soho linen quill yarn. That is not the yarn that was used in the original sample, but it is the one that I thought I was going to use as soon as I saw Tiff putting out sneak peeks on her Instagram about her tee in progress. And I was dreaming up of this like vintagey romantic dried flowers vibe that I really wanted to bring to life. And so this main color is wheat flower, and then the contrast color is rosewood pink. And I had used this rosewood pink in my first half and half triangles wrap project, so this is the remaining yarn from that. And then this wheat flower is kind of like a beigey color. Yeah, I think like a beige color, and then the rosewood pink is more of like a dusty mauvey pink rose color. And I knit the second size. I can't remember if there's 9 or 10 sizes, and the recommended ease is 1 to 4 inches, and the second size gives me about 3-ish inches of positive ease, which is really comfortable on me. It is knit top down in the round, and the color work yoke, it's all very short floats. I don't believe I had to catch any floats. And I feel like it's very beginner friendly as a color work yoke pattern goes. The only part that I would say maybe is not, well, it's not really not beginner friendly. It's more so just to be aware of, because it's a fingering weight sweater. It takes longer, but it is a tee, so then there's hardly any sleeves to knit, which makes it less long of a project. But really, it doesn't matter. If you want to knit it, you should just knit it. I really enjoyed making this tee. I did size down needles because I always do. My tension is just different from Tiff's, the designers, and I know my gauge using this linen quill yarn because I've made other sweaters from it as well. So I just based it off of that and went down my needle sizes. And I did, let's see, my ribbing needle was a US 3, my color work needle was a US 5, and my main needle was a US 4. And I ended up using, let's see, my main color I ended up using 582 yards, and my contrast color I used about 66 yards. And that's equivalent about 133 grams of the fingering weight yarn for my main color and about 15 grams for my contrast color. Now, depending on what weight of yarn you use, it will change your yardage and how much you use. So the one in the sample for the pattern was slightly heavier weight fingering yarn, and so the yardage is different. But yeah, I knit the standard length, and there's an option for a picot bind off, a contrast picot bind off, or just binding off after you finish the ribbing. There's also an option for a cropped length, and yeah, I just decided I wanted the standard length for this one. I had taken some finished object or finished project photos of me wearing it with a pair of linen pants that matched the color of my contrast yarn here. And if I remember, I'll insert some of those photos here on the screen so you can see how that looks. But yeah, I really enjoyed making this sweater, and it's super comfortable. The content is 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. So yes, it's very breathable, and being fingering weight, it is lightweight, but honestly, if it's hot, it's hot, and sometimes you just don't want to wear anything. Although I do. So, on to works in progress. I think the first one I'm going to share with you is in this super cute little bag I sewed up maybe last year or the year before. It has bees on it and peachy flowers. And I think I shared this project in the previous episode. So the coloring book tea is in testing, and it is by designer Amy Scher. And I finished my test for it. So I signed up to test it and testing View B, which is her 3/4 length sleeve option, and standard length, and it has stripes along the body and the sleeves. And so I finished that. That's the one I'm going to show you next time. And then I wanted to knit one up in different yarn. So the first one I did it in linen quill, which is what her sample used as well. Now this one, I'm using another Purl Soho yarn, but one that is new to me. It is called Santalina, and it is 70% organically grown cotton, 20% rayon from bamboo, and 10% hemp. Here is the label, and it comes out to 328 yards for 100 grams, which generally if I'm looking at like wool yarns, I would say, oh, that's sport weight. However, because of the fiber content, I would consider this knitting up closer to a fingering weight gauge. Now, I can't explain how, why any of that happens, but it's just how it's knitting up. The color I'm using is Peach Lily, and I had bought 2 skeins of it, and this is where I'm at with my second one. Here's the color. It is so pretty. It is definitely this like soft peachy pink color. And here is my tea. Oh, the bottom is kind of all bunched up right now. But, so it's knit top down, it's raglan style, and I've got the short sleeves done. I went in and finished the sleeves off before going to join the second skein in the body. So I finished the first skein in the body, and then with the second one I started up with the sleeves first and then joined it to the body. So I'm planning on knitting until I think I have enough left for the ribbing, and then this neckline you pick up to do a collar. So I'm going to use my swatch for part of that and just do some math to figure out how much yarn I need. But I knew that I was probably going to be playing Yarn Chicken from the get-go, and I just need to do some calculations to make sure I can finish okay. I mean, I will be able to finish. It's more so if I need to, you know, shorten up the neckline here, or just shorten up the body here, or, you know, I will make it work. But I'm very excited about this. It is so drapey, and it's going to be so comfy. So, like, speaking of wearing wool in the summer, I wanted to try out this plant fiber yarn and see what I think of it. And it has not hurt my hands knitting with it. It's so soft, and it feels like buttery almost. I don't really know how to explain it. I do not have a lot of experience knitting with plant yarns, plant fibers, and but I have to say that it has not hurt my hands at all, and it is really nice to knit with. So that is that one. The next one I'd like to share with you is in a project bag. I sewed actually this a few months ago, but it's probably when I was dreaming about summer. It is so summery. Are you ready? It is a quilt block, and there are these beautiful lemons, and it's surrounded by blue and white gingham, denim boxed bottom, more lemons on the back. Doesn't it just make you think of lemonades and picnics on a sunny day? I love it. Okay, so in here I have my June 2022 Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad sock set called Zootown. Here's the tag. This is on her Highwood sock base, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon at 400 yards for 100 grams. And yeah, so this one is June's. So those who have subscribed to this will probably have had their yarn by now because it's the middle of July. And here is the mini skein, which is this vibrant teal. And then I am knitting socks with it. So I'm knitting them 2 at a time, like I like to do, on their own separate needles. I'm using 9-inch ChiaoGu's US 1 or 2.25 millimeter. So I've just kind of finished the cuffs here. I'm knitting them top down. Here they are. Aren't they so cute? I cast on 56 stitches, and my gauge with this yarn is usually like 8 stitches per inch, I think. So I cast on Old Norwegian cast on with the contrast color, and I think I knit 2 rounds maybe of 2 rounds or 1 round of knit 2 purl 2 ribbing. And then when I changed colors, I knit 1 round with the main color and then continued the next round in knit 2 purl 2 for a smooth transition. And I have a tutorial for that here on my YouTube channel. And then I think I knit 20 rounds for the cuff, and then I decided to split in half and continue 2x2 ribbing on the front half and stockinette on the back half to mimic how I would do it for the foot. So I'll probably put in a shadow wrap heel, and then after that continue the top of the foot 2x2 ribbing and the bottom of the foot stockinette. So that's the plan. I'm not following any specific pattern. This is just me making it up as I go. Here's the main color. It's kind of a cream base with these like chartreuse, fuchsia, aqua speckles throughout. Don't have a deadline for these. Just knitting them when I feel like it. Socks are such a great on-the-go project because it's not heavy. And since I have them on their own needles, I could just even bring one at a time if I want to. You're not going to have a bunch of wool in your lap, and it's just kind of an easy on-the-go project. Last work in progress I'd like to share with you today is in this beautiful bag. So this is the Half and Half Triangles wrap by Purl Soho. I've talked about it for over a year now. I guess I started it, oh no, maybe about a year. I started my first one in July of last year, so 2021, and I'm on my 4th one now. And sometimes once I hit, you know, the second color, so it's knit in 2 colors. In the beginning, I usually have it in a smaller project bag, or not usually, sometimes. This time I did, in a smaller project bag, and it might match the theme or color of the first triangle. And then once I get to that exciting milestone of switching colors and knitting the second triangle, I usually have to, you know, put it in a larger project bag if it wasn't already in a larger one to start, just for space reasons. And being a longer term project, it's nice to switch things up. It keeps things fresh and exciting. And so my first color was peachy pink, and let me see if I can show you what I have left of it. Now, if you've been following for a while, I cast this on, I think, May 1st, and I wasn't sure if I would have enough yarn for my first color because I had used part of the skein in the color work of another sweater. And I had to do a little bit of math, a little guesswork, and just hope for the best. And I won at Yarn Chicken, so I'm fine. This is what I have remaining of the first color. I think it's like, how much do I have left? It's less than 10 grams, so I did just fine. So this is the peachy pink color. It's kind of a neon melon color. And let's see here. Okay, so this is out of Purl Soho's Linen Quill yarn. And then my second color is Pink Pop. Here's a skein I haven't wound up yet, and this is as bright as it looks. It's like neon cool toned hot pink. And so once I joined it, I decided I was going to put it in this project bag, which is so bright and cheerful and summery, and my inspiration for this color combo was our garden flowers, like our zinnias, which if I hold these up together, maybe you'll see why. Oops, that's the other side. Let's see here. See both colors? Do you see the resemblance here? Our garden just makes me so happy, and it's so cheerful and bright, and that was the inspiration for this combination. And then I also decided to make some new stitch markers and progress keepers for this project. I have some polymer clay that I've had forever. I think it's like over 20 years old. I've talked about it in previous episodes, maybe last year, I don't remember. But it's pretty old, but because it's polymer clay, it doesn't dry out. Now, I can't vouch for the quality of it. Maybe it's brittle after it bakes and cures or whatever, but I'm just making this for myself, so the quality over time isn't going to deter me from trying different things. So, let me show you what I made. This one has some flowers on it in similar colors. I hope the camera isn't blowing it out so you can see it properly. And then this one I made a little leaf because I showed the flower one to my daughter and she's like, I want one, but you're missing the leaves. And I thought, I am missing the leaves. So I decided just to make a leaf one here. Hope that's focusing. And I have them on these like more circular findings, which I think makes it easier to take on and off compared to lobster claws. I feel like sometimes, I don't know if I have one here, the lobster ones, I'm like, I really have to mess with it to try to get it on and off. And so these bigger ones just make it a little bit easier. So that's where I'm at. I use this one here, the one with the flower, to mark where my turned stitch is for the, working the German short rows. And then I use the other one to give myself kind of mini goals. So let's say I want to turn 10 stitches that day, so I'll just mark out 10 of them, or 5, or whatever the case may be, just to give myself a little, motivation isn't the right word, but yeah, I mean, I guess mini goals, just to kind of see where I'm at. Because in this sea of garter, it can be hard to see your progress sometimes, and progress can be motivating. So that is that. I would love to have this, oops, I forgot a bag. I would love to have it finished sometime in like early September, at least by the time school starts, and because I have another one that I want to cast on by then. So this one was my summer project, hence the very summery colors, and I am very much a seasonal person, and so I have knit ones that have been very reminiscent of different seasons and kind of embody the feel and the colors of that season. And so when September rolls around, I'd love to cast on another one, which I have colors in mind for already, and we'll talk about it when I get there, but we shall see. Of course, these deadlines are fluid and not really like set deadlines. They're just, I don't even want to say goal, because goal feels like, I have to set a goal, but maybe you know what I mean. Like, I like to have guidelines, or guidelines also sounds too like rigid. That's not what I mean. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But today, apparently, I am at a loss for words sometimes. Maybe it's the heat affecting my brain. That is everything I wanted to chat with you today. I am still reading The 100 Secret Senses by Amy Tan that I talked about 2 weeks ago that I thought I would be done with by now. However, the kids have had trouble sleeping lately, which means they go to bed later, which means I go to bed later, which means by then I don't feel like reading because I would have liked to be in bed like an hour ago. So yeah, the reading hasn't really been happening. And I feel like with reading, I don't like to pick up and put it down as often. Like with my knitting, I can pick up and put down constantly. So if we're at a park or something, somebody needs help with the whatever, like I can just set it down and do that and then come back to my knitting. But with reading, I feel like once I open it up and I'm immersed in that world, I don't like to be constantly interrupted with it. It's hard to get like really into it again. So I like to have set, focused, concentrated time to read, and oftentimes that's at night after the kids go to bed. And yeah, so since they haven't been going to bed at a decent hour, it makes it really difficult to read. But I think I'm about halfway through the book, and we'll see if I can finish it. Well, I have to finish it before I have to return it to the library. I think I've already renewed it at least once. So, yeah. Yeah, but other than that, let's see. Eats, as far as eats goes, I think I've shared some maybe footage in the vlog earlier. I can't think of anything in particular right now that I've tried new, like a new recipe for or anything. Yeah. We've been grilling because then the heat stays outside and the mess stays outside, but yeah, I can't think of anything else right now. If you've made anything delicious and really fun, do drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. Yeah, but I think that is it for today. I feel like I was constantly interrupting myself, or not interrupting myself, but like losing my train of thought or going on tangents today. I blame it on the summer heat. It is so hot. Anyway, I hope you are doing well and taking good care of yourselves. Cheers to being creative, and I will talk to you next time.